So we'll call the meeting to order. Mayor Lou wasn't able to attend today, so I'll be running the meeting. First up is the approval minutes from the 4/20 regular meeting. Everybody have their packet with information. Is there any concerns or questions with the minutes? If not, have.
I move that we accept the minutes.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Minutes approved. Approval of vouchers. So we have the vouchers from the packet also. Any questions on the vouchers? If not, is there a motion to approve?
I'll move that we approve the vouchers as they're reported to us.
Okay, have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So next up is public comments. So we have,
We don't have anybody here from the public other than Zach, and then Tracy will have an opportunity.
so,
Zach Collett with EBH Engineering. We're doing the hike and bike trail and the highway job. So just a quick update on both of those. The hike and bike, we are poured up to Adams Street and actually just on the other side of Adams Street. We've moved over now and they're going to work from Main Street back the other way. So tomorrow we'll pour from Main Street to Washington, and depending on how quickly and how smoothly that goes, we'll go potentially on the other side of Washington, pour from Washington to Lincoln tomorrow as well. Both of those are ready to go. The highway job, if you haven't been out there and seen, traffic control is completely set up now. So that industrial intersection is closed down. We did reach back out to EMS, the hospital, Travis Parmley, the EMS director. Everybody is back aware of that again. You'll start seeing dirt equipment come in tomorrow, and they'll probably start doing a little bit of dirt work tomorrow. Mostly they're going to use it as a mow day, and then we'll get rolling right after that. Just to kind of reiterate, that intersection we anticipate to be closed down somewhere between 5 to 6 weeks as a conservative estimate. So just to kind of keep you guys up to date on that. Any questions?
how about the trail? When do you think you'll have it totally done?
At the pace we're going right now, I'm hoping the trail is wrapped up here in the next 2 weeks. I think we'll be, if we're not completely done, we'll be real close at that. So we're getting close. So.
And we are talking with maybe potentially putting some detour signs. I know Hillsboro Industries had some issues with truck routing. There was a little bit of concern on the hospital side, not necessarily from the hospital itself, but from other people. So the problem with doing some of those signages is that KDOT's pretty particular about signages, even temporary signs. And so it's a situation we're gonna have to work with them and try to figure out a solution.
Right. Yep.
We're rerouting people down westbound traffic. We're rerouting from down Santa Fe and coming back up and around. So it's going to be a challenge, but once it's finished, it will be, much more safe, a good project for everybody.
Yep.
Just one of those things where you're going to have to work through the timing.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yep.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, yeah.
So we have Tracy, did you have?
Hi, I'm Tracy Lowe, and I am here with Marion County Core Communities. And I don't know if any of you have heard of us, which is why I'm here. We're part of Youth Core Ministries out of Greenburg, Kansas. And what we do is work with families in Marion County to help them move from being in poverty to becoming self-sustaining. We are trying to get a class going right now. We just need to get a couple more families enrolled in it. We should be starting at the end of the month, and we meet on Thursday nights at the Trinity Mennonite Church. So how can you get involved? That's what I'm here to tell you. So we need people that we call core leaders. Those are our families that we help. So if you know a family that could benefit from a program like that, we ask that you let them know we're there and maybe even join them the first night to make it a little easier for them to come. We also have what we call core friends, and these are people in middle to upper class families that befriend these other families to help them in their transition from poverty to middle class. And then we have what we call our core volunteers. These can be groups or individual people, but what we look for is someone who can provide a meal every week. We do a family style meal every week before our meeting. So church groups, city council groups, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, individual families, any of these people can volunteer to do a meal one time, quarterly, monthly, whatever works for them. We do have a paid person on our staff who provides childcare to our families, but we're always looking for volunteers if they want to help in the childcare. And the other things that we need is financial support. We ask that from businesses, organizations, individuals, and we accept that from $1 to, $20,000, whatever fits in your budget. So I brought pamphlets for everyone. My contact number is on here. If you have questions or want more information or anything, does anyone have questions now that I can answer?
So is this like the Circles program? I'm kind of
This is
familiar with that.
replacing Circles.
Okay,
So Marion County did have Circles. Circles as an organization does still exist, but not in Marion County.
Okay.
It wasn't doing well here, and Mark Rogers, who was running that, is now with Youth Corps Ministries. He asked Youth Corps Ministries to come in and take over this program because they were a bigger organization, more suited to rural communities, and was hoping that we could become more successful here.
So is this your first class in Marion County that you're doing?
This is the first class under Youth Corps Ministries as part of Core Communities. My title with them is I'm the community liaison. I'm new to Marion County. My husband and I moved here from Denver a year ago. We bought a small farm outside of Burns, and I had retired. And then you can see I'm doing really well with this retirement thing because here I am. But when I heard about this, I was so moved by the program and what it's doing to help people. I just really wanted to be part of it. And I thought, and what a great way for me to meet people in this new community that I'm in, because I don't really know anybody in Marion County. And I figure a year from now, I'm probably gonna know everybody in Marion County. So I'm excited about that. So yeah, we are replacing Circles, but the people, like, do you know Mark Rogers? Yeah, people like Mark Rogers are still with us. Mark is actually the coach for Marion County. And so he's working directly with the families. He's still out here in the community a bit with me, trying to get me up to speed and knowing what I'm doing, but he's still a very big part of our organization. Anybody else have any questions?
We can take your information, your pamphlets and stuff, and we can put them out here. For anybody who wants the information, they can come to City Hall and pick that up. And also, I assume contact you. Would that be the best?
Yeah, you can reach out to me or Mark Rogers, either one of
Okay.
us. My contact info is on here. I have a few more with contact info, so I can leave you that whole stack.
Great, yeah.
And that's really all I've got. I appreciate your time today.
Yeah, thank you, Tracy.
Thank you for coming, yeah.
The next order of business is the sewer lagoon improvements.
Yes, sir. Let me, so we've been talking kind of a little bit about the wastewater lagoon systems for a little while now. And we had a couple conversations last fall, and I think maybe once earlier this spring. And so we've been talking about how we can deal with the sludge buildup and the ammonia levels that will be coming down from the state of Kansas, KDHE. And also to deal with the smell issue. You know, some people, there's certain times of year when it turns over and it smells. So, so what we've been working a little bit with EBH on this. They've designed some of this information. Alan Luttrell's here to talk about it a little bit. One of the issues that's kind of core to this is the contributions of Barkman Honey. You know, they provide a pretty significant amount of the load with being a fairly small amount of the flow here. And so we've had conversations with Barkman about potentially participating in the cost of this project. And, you know, we're waiting to get a few more kind of firm firm numbers to go back and talk to them a little bit more about some of these things. Within the structure of our city code and our ordinances, we have the ability to make, compel people to make improvements in order to meet the requirements for BOD and dissolved solids and some of the other regulatory requirements that we have. So, we've had a couple of those conversations initially, and we're going to go back to them, but we thought it would be important to kind of talk to you guys about this project and sort of where it's at and the solution that EBH has come up with. So I'll turn it over to Alan, and he can kind of walk you through some of what we've come up with.
Am I talking to people up?
Both.
What's the
You got,
game
you got
plan?
both, Alan.
What's the game plan?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're kind of in that spot right there seems to be pretty good.
Okay, well, I'll just work with it then, if you don't mind. I'll tell you what I'd like to do really is I'd like to back up about 3 or 4 steps and kind of go through a process with you. I want to talk to you about what's driving the regulations here in the country, what changes have happened in the regulations and what I see coming up in changes in the regulations. Then a little bit about maybe just a real thumbnail sketch about how lagoons are designed, how lagoons work and why sometimes they don't work. And then we can get down and talk about where yours are at right now, the proposed solution, the costs, and how we move forward. Does that kind of give you a kind of a structure where we're going?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll tell you what's really driving the regulations right now with EPA. Of course, EPA now has been empowered with the new change in administration. And I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying that's the way it is. One of the things that's really happening is we are located in what is known as the Mississippi River Valley. I mean, everything flows from the Continental Divide to the Mississippi River, and then it flows, I don't know how far east it goes down to the Mississippi, and then it all goes down the Mississippi River, and it ends up down there in the Gulf of Mexico. The problem they're having right now is they've got literally hundreds of square miles of dead ocean, dead water out there in the Gulf of Mexico. And it's getting worse all the time. It's just dying. Nothing can live out there. And it's just, the EPA has said it's time that we do something about it. And not only that, but you're also seeing it up in the Great Lakes, where the Great Lakes, green algae, and you guys know all about the green algae problem with your reservoir out here. It's happening in the Great Lakes. Great Lakes are the biggest natural body of water in the world that's not seawater, okay? And it is really getting bad up there. And so what the EPA has come down, they're saying everybody who's contributing to that needs to be a part of the solution. That's really what it's all about. And that's why then, to move in on then, so what their EPA has done then is they're saying, we're gonna limit the amount of nitrogen that ends up in the, ends up in the water. That's really basically, and also in phosphorus are two of the biggest things that are happening. So they're starting to limit it. They're just saying everybody who's contributing is part of the solution. We all can probably say that to some degree or not, farmers are probably want some of the biggest contributors, but they're just saying anybody who contributes has to be part of the solution. So what's happening here then is that over the last number of years then is that EPA has started really pushing the regulations, pushing them further and further along, so that now they're saying you are, they're putting limits in your permit. You used to just have to monitor for ammonia. Now they have put in interim regulations that are in your permit. You're discharging, you have a discharge, what's called a NPDES, National Pollution Discharge Elimination System permit. You have an NPDES permit, which is your permit to discharge. Okay. So in that permit that came out last time, do you have a schedule of compliance? In that schedule of compliance, you have to meet your BOD, which is biochemical oxygen demand, which is the strength of the wastewater that goes into the wastewater. And then you have to meet total TSS, total suspended solids. That's leaving the plant. And now, and of course, pH, and now they put ammonia on. And what they're going to eventually do, that's what's coming on. You got interim measures in that you have to meet now, which you're meeting all the interim measures for ammonia. It's the future ones that, next time you get your permit, and I don't remember when it's gonna be due, I didn't look that up. It's gonna have the final, change in your, ammonia limits. They're gonna reduce them. What they're gonna do is each month of the year, it's gonna change. And as you go through the summer months, what happens is the algae starts to build up in the lagoon. When that algae builds up, it raises the pH in the water. And as the pH raises in the water, it starts getting up around 8.5 to 9. What that does is that causes the ammonia to volatilize and it'll actually leave, okay? So during the summer months, you're gonna be down, I think around 1.3 is the lowest milligrams per liter. And in the winter, I believe, and in the winter, you can't, it's harder to meet it because the algae starts to die off in the winter and so it's going to go up to, I think around 3.3, something like that. I'm sorry, 4.1 in January, February, and November and December. It goes on up. So you are going to, in the future, you're going to get stricter regulations for ammonia. And right now, you can meet the regulations probably about half of the year. There's part of the year when you can't meet it. And so as we move forward, stricter regulations are going to cause a problem. Now, what KDHE does when they design, just a real thumbnail sketch of the design of a lagoon, is that they have a couple of different parameters. One of the parameters is you can only put out, I talked about biochemical oxygen demand, BOD. You can only load it up to the 34 pounds per acre per day. That's how you design your first two lagoons. You can't put in over there over 34 pounds per acre per day. And what that does is that spreads that loading out. And as a result, theoretically, it's supposed to keep the odors down, okay? And the other thing is then you have to have a minimum of 120 days detention time. If you were to go further north, up in the Dakotas, they have 180-day detention time. You go further south and it's around 90 days detention time. And the 120 days detention time does two different things. One, it allows you to get your disinfection so that you have an E. coli requirement also. And that, I think you're just monitoring for E. coli. But if it starts to get too high, then that's what the sunlight does. So 120 days, the sunlight will start to kill off the E. coli. And so you meet the disinfection. The second thing is what happens is during the winter, when the temperature of the water drops below about 41 degrees, you don't get any treatment. In essence, what's happening is you're just storing all of that BOD that's coming in. It's just getting stored in there. You're not getting it just, as it gets below 41, those bugs just kind of like bears. They just hibernate during the winter. Now, and then the algae starts to die off, and algae uptakes some of the ammonia, so it's dying off. It's putting the ammonia back down into the sludge. All this stuff's going down into the sludge. You're getting ice over the top. It's turning septic on you. So that's what happens in the spring when that ice melts off of there. You not only do you have the BOD, the concentration that's coming in, that ice is left, and now you can have 4, 5, 6 times of that BOD concentration and ammonia coming out of the water, out of that sludge. And so 4 or 5 times what's coming in. So you have just a tremendous loading coming off of there. And so what we did this last, about a month ago, I talked to Joe Alvarez out here, and he split the flow. I told you, it's on pounds per day, pounds per acre per day. So he split the flow between the first 2 lagoons. So he started running them in parallel. And then he took the first cell off, completely off, let it rest. And we had a few odors, but I'll tell you what, it wasn't as bad as in the past. For as cold as it got and as much ice as we had. So that's kind of what happens there. You get that sludge holding that BOD, and I'll tell you what happens also when that ammonia comes out. It takes about 4.7 pounds of oxygen per pound of ammonia to treat that, as opposed to BOD, which takes about 2 pounds of oxygen. So it takes 2.5 times more oxygen to treat that ammonia that's coming out of that sludge than it does the BOD. So you're just getting just a tremendous amount of load there. And the other thing that's happened now, and it's hard to gauge when you design a lagoon, how quick the sludge is going to build up in there. And once you start getting up somewhere starting to approach 1.5 to 2 feet, then you can start getting that, it's called benthal feedback, that ammonia and phosphorus is coming out of that sludge. It'll come out in the spring, but it'll also continue to come out all year round. Well, you have about 18 inches of sludge in your lagoon, in that first lagoon out there right now. So now you're getting more of that, more feedback off that sludge all year round. And that's part of why right now you're starting to have trouble meeting your BOD permit also, the BOD part of your compliance also in the lagoon, because you're getting that all taken off through there. So a lot of lagoons, they may go 3 to 5 years and need to be cleaned out. Some go 10 to 15. There's some that can even go up to 40. It just kind of depends on the community. Yours happens to be, you've had that thing in operation, I think about 12.5 years now. And it's getting to the point where you have a couple options. One option is you clean it out. The second option is if you have enough volatiles in there, volatile suspended solids in your sludge, then it becomes economical to use aeration to reduce the sludge layer. And that's what we looked at on these here, okay? So right now, your sludge layer is, like I said, is 18 inches. And so what we're proposing on this thing is that we come in here with some aeration and then also with some baffling in there. I think everybody had copies of the.
Yeah, they received copy of the.
Okay, they had copies of our proposed solution there. And part of the deal is that right now you have reached the capacity for your BOD loading that was in the design capacity. And part of that was because Barkman Honey, I'll tell you what, they have grown their business, and that's what they're about, growing their business. And so, but as a result of growing their business, they have really scaled up their amount of BOD that they're putting in. It's like Matt said, they're not putting a lot in, but what they put in has a lot of BOD in it. And right now, what they've done about every day, they take a load full of their byproduct down there, and they put it in a tank down there at the old lagoon side. I mean, the old treatment plant side where the main lift station is, and then it's fed into the plant there. I mean, into the lift station down there, and then pumped out to the lagoons. That's how it works now. The problem is that the facility down there where that tank is awful old. I mean, I think it was a used tank to start with. It's beyond its design life. It either needs replaced, or the other alternative would be to allow Barkman Honey to discharge straight into the sanitary sewer, and then it'd go to the industrial park sewer and to the industrial park lift station, and then pump to the system. And so that's one of the alternatives that we're looking at is you're either going to have to upgrade the tank and the way it's put in down there, or else allow Barkman Honey to discharge into the sewer system, which would be a feasible deal. If we just, and I think that's what Matt's talking about, just working with them to get that. So that's kind of where we're at on this. And our proposal on this thing out of the lagoons is to put aeration in there and then put some baffles in. If you look in the plans we had there, it shows a couple baffles. What happens in a lagoon also is you can get short circuiting. We put the there's an intake in one corner, and then it goes out just catty corner across there. It is where the discharge is. So what can happen though is you can get short circuiting going across there, where it can actually short circuit around there, and then you can get some dead zones as time goes on with sludge building up and that. And the other thing that can happen is you can get some temperature inversions where you actually get a layer of just hot water, hot and cold, and in the middle it'll be in between, and that water will come in the end, and it'll just skim across in the middle between those and actually short circuit. So there's different ways of short circuit, and that's one of the reasons why we're talking about putting the baffles in there, is to eliminate any type of short circuiting. And so we're going to have enough aeration in there to treat the incoming waste and the projected income. We use about a 20% increase in where we're at right now. And then the second thing is we put enough aeration in there that over a period of about 6 years, we can reduce that sludge down so that it's not a very big factor in the game plan. So really in 6 years or so, theoretically, we'll be able to cut back on how much we operate the aeration in that. So that's that kind of gets us up to now. And like I said, your problem is you got sludge in there. You've reached your design capacity in terms of the loading on the lagoons, and partially that is because of what Barkman Honey is putting in. And so what we had proposed there then, I believe you guys all had this opinion of probable cost to add the splash aerators and baffles. And what we did is we came down here, and to reduce the odors, we had a total projected cost around 122,000. And then to reduce the sludge layers right at 107,000. And what we did is we went back and looked at the records from the city and the records that we had from Barkman Honey from what they took down to the lift station site and put in the tank down there. And we compiled all the data, and what we came up with for reducing the odor, it's going to be about a 60-40 split. The city is contributing about 60% and Barkman Honey about 40%. And then we looked at how over time, how much has Barkman Honey put in there over since the lagoons are in, how much did they actually contribute to the lagoons as opposed to the city? And that ended up being about an 80-20 split between 80% city and 20% Barkman Honey. So if anybody wants to see those, I didn't bring them with me, but we compiled all those records, and that's how we came up with that split there. So that came out then with the total project cost of around 127,000. It's roughly 70,000 for Barkman Honey and 159,000 for the city's contribution. Okay. Anybody got any questions on that? I went over a lot of stuff real fast here. Oh, good.
Yeah.
I'm better than I thought it was. And then I don't know how you want to handle the O&M. We also looked at reducing the odors and the sludge layer on the O&M costs. And the O&M cost, it's still 60-40, 80-20 for running the aerators. And so that's kind of what the O&M costs there, total O&M.
That one's not in the.
Oh, that was not in the
we
packet.
didn't put
Okay.
That one in the packet.
I'll leave that.
Yeah.
I'll let Matt handle that one.
We're gonna figure that one out, but the
Okay,
other
you'll
one
pay
there,
that one. Okay.
they did have a probable cost projection for Barkman Honey's monitoring station, which is in this case 83,900. So what this would do is allow them to dump straight into our sewer main, but we have to measure that, and so this would create a station for that to happen. That would be connected to our SCADA system, which allows us to monitor it.
Yes.
And that's a probable cost, but that sounds like Alan and I have talked a little bit about that. And so there may be some options that are a little bit different from that. So we're still kind of figuring out what exactly we're going to do with that. But we've had some initial conversations with Barkman, but we haven't presented them the full kind of process because we don't have a good feel on this monitoring piece just yet.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. Do you want me to get into it at all?
I don't think we need to really
Okay,
cover it
okay,
because
don't get
I
into
think
it.
it's eventually going to change.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a monitoring and a metering device. It's a flow.
Yeah. What we're doing is we're going to put a monitoring manhole out there, put a meter down in it so that we can monitor how much flow is. It's going to need a sampler so that we can take samples periodically to see what the strength of the wastewater is that's coming out. And then it'd really be nice if it's connected into your SCADA system here so that you can kind of monitor, see what's going on all the time, and if you got any problems out there. And then of course it's going to take a little bit of electrical for both the meter and for the sampler out there. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So, and I'll bring one more thing up then. What we did on this thing is we looked at what would be a cost-effective way to do this. We could have taken it all, let it out for bids and everything, but what we did is we talked to a couple different suppliers for the baffles and a couple different suppliers for the aerators. And we asked them, can you give us an installed price? So we got an installed price from both of them. I felt that was the most economical way to do it. And then I talked with Matt, and what we had talked about with the staff also was what would it cost for the city then to put in the electrical out there to make the connection in? We felt that that was probably one of the most economical ways to do this project. And that's kind of the way we proceeded. And that's where these costs came up with. We got proposals from them and we evaluated and went over with staff. And then if the city then was going to put in what their electrical costs that, for the materials and labor it's going to take for them, which is an economical way to do it. And so that's kind of where we're at on that standpoint. So I guess that's what I had for you, and I am willing to answer any questions or.
Will this set us up for what EPA's requirements can be?
Well, okay, for right now, it'll get us in the BOD and it'll get us out of the total suspended solids. And I believe that here in the short term, it's going for me to completely take care of the ammonia problem. Well, let me back up one more step then. I left one step out of here. Part of your compliance order in your permit is to address ammonia. Okay. And in addressing the ammonia, you have several different options. One option that we looked at was to handle it. Well, let me back. You're real close to meeting your ammonia standard right now. You're not very far off. I really believe that what we're doing out there right now will pretty much, with some management, and I'm going to throw that in. A lot of people think you just build lagoons, you go out and you mow them, and they just take care of themselves. They don't. If the city had an ammonia meter, they could go out and periodically check that ammonia, and then we could do some monitoring with the lagoons and kind of see how it's going. Okay, and then make some changes. Without aerators, you can't make a lot of changes out there. There just isn't a lot you can do. So I really believe that this will come real close to meeting your ammonia standards. And if we can then do some management and take some tests out there, I think you can get real close. Now, if I wanted to say, if we want to 100% do it, you have two options. About $250,000 more in additions to the plant. Or the second one is KDHE would really like to see you go non-discharging. And they're to that point that they would give you 30% loan forgiveness to go to a non-discharging lagoon, which is going to be about $1.1 million. Okay. And they'll give you 30% loan forgiveness up to $1 million. Okay. I think right now, if I was sitting in your seat, I'd do what we have proposed out here for that. I think we'll be real close to meeting that with what we have there. That's I'm not going to guarantee you're going to meet it, but I'm just going to say, let's manage it. A lot of people think lagoons are just mow them and we watch them and that's it. No, we can hold it. There's one, for some reason, I can't explain it. In August, you have not ever been able to meet your ammonia standard. You won't be able to meet your ammonia. I don't understand it because August should be the easiest time to meet it. For some reason, you're not. So let's monitor it. And maybe as we see we're coming into that, maybe we can drop the lagoons down a half a foot to a foot and then a part of them, and then just not discharge in that month when we know we're going to have a problem and manage the system. It's a management system now.
Managing the flow goes in.
Yeah, and we can manage it, we can watch it, we can see what's going on, but it takes a little more time, a little more effort. It's not just here it is, let's do it, okay? It's more like a managed system. Okay, but I really believe we'll get real close with what we're doing out there. I really believe it. I think it's going to be a great fix for you.
Is there a proposed timeline?
I think well, no, not exactly. We're gonna go
No.
back and talk with Barkman Honey a little bit more to see kind of where they're at and, what kind of agreement we can reach with them as far as cost sharing. And then we would bring it back to the council. And then as far as installation, I think it can move relatively quickly.
Yeah, well, the problem you're going to have is that the aerators take about 14 weeks to get here.
Okay.
And then you're going to have the baffles. And the problem with the baffles is we got a price here in the last month. And what they're saying here is in the next few weeks, there's liable to be a jump in the oil prices, and which is what they use to make they're made out of high density polyethylene. So there could be an increase in the price for the baffles. So I think if we can move as fast as we could, that'd be a great thing.
Yeah.
You need to do it with the Barkman Honey, however that negotiation worked.
Yeah.
So from where we go forward here,
4 months.
I'm gonna leave that in Matt's court. I have my ideas where we should move. I think we should move as quick as we can, but I'm not the one sitting in Matt's chair who's got to deal with Barkman, you know. And like I say, I'm glad Barkman Honey's growing. I'm glad they're doing what they're doing.
Right.
You know, they're a big contributor to this community. I'm glad to see them be successful. Okay, it's not a bad thing. You know what? And if they had to go out and build their own, it's going to cost them. I wouldn't be surprised if they spent $750,000, $1 million if they had to build their own facility. That wouldn't surprise me at all. If they had to pre-treat to give it to you, this is a bargain for them. And I think they know it because they got some prices a number of years ago. This is a good deal for them. It's a good deal for the city. And the sooner we move, the better off I think everybody will be. But anyway, I'll leave that. Matt's doing you a great job and I'll leave it in his court. I'm just a consultant to it. Do what he tells me to do.
Thank you.
So, anything else? Any questions I can answer? Okay, you
Great.
know why we're here, where we're at, where we're going, so
Thank you,
thank
Alan.
you guys.
Appreciate it.
Do
I
I
have
need-
a comment. I have a comment, please.
Yeah.
If you go back to the minutes from when they were building this lagoon, the guy that built it told us they were going to take care of that problem clear back then. And
Take
it's
care
in
of
the
what?
minutes where he said he was going to have them placed into the lagoon system. And Shelby Dirk was on the council then, and both Shelby and I were on record as asking him this, and he said he was going to fix the problem, and it never
Excuse me,
did.
what did you ask him? I missed that.
What problem,
He
Barney?
said they were supposed to have already put that in there, and they said they were going to.
What were they gonna put in?
Then they left town and it never got done.
Oh, aeration? They didn't put in
Yeah, the
aeration?
people that built the lagoon were gonna take care of that problem then, yes.
Oh, I don't. If he said that, the problem was, that's been a change in the regulation.
I know, I mean, we can't do anything about it now, but
Yeah, I know. Let me explain something to you, okay? Back when they were built, if you put aeration in back then, they would not have been classified as lagoons, facultative lagoons.
okay,
They would have been classified as a mechanical plant.
okay.
And I mean, and I'll tell you what, there was a town out in western Kansas, you know those fountains that you see out in the middle of the ponds? There was a town out in western Kansas that put one of those in. And they said, you either take it out or we're gonna change your classification to mechanical plant. And if you went to mechanical plant back then, it was a total different set of regulations. I mean, you know, it wasn't just BOD and TSS and pH. You had a bunch of other regulations that went on with it.
Well,
So,
that's good to know, but he didn't say anything about that.
yeah, well, anyway, I'm a little surprised he said that, but if he did, I'm gonna have to tell you, I regret that he said it.
Okay,
I'll have to be upfront with you, okay, totally. Because the regulations have changed. Now you can put aeration in there and they'll keep them the same. The regulations have changed from back then to now, and that's one of the issues that you get into.
yeah, well, that makes sense now, I
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, if you get aeration out there now, all of a sudden we can turn things on and off. We can have timers on them. We can run them so many hours a day or not. We can move them around a little bit out there. And we just have a total lot of control. Without aeration, all you can do is move from one cell to the other. You can split the flows. Maybe you can raise and lower a little bit, but it's just awful difficult, you know. But the other issue is that you have reached the design capacity of your lagoons right now.
Well, I think it's a good idea to do that.
That's really the bottom line.
But thank you.
Sure enough. Anybody else? I'm glad to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Challenge me. One thing I will be is, one thing I'll tell you, I will be transparent. I'll tell you what it is and wherever the chips fall. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
sure enough.
Next order of business is the American Rescue Plan Act's funds.
So Alan talked a little bit about the project itself, and one of the things that we're going to be receiving as part of the latest round of federal funds is some fund or some money from the American Rescue Plan Act fund. So what happens with this is the money comes from the federal government and then comes to the state, and the state has to distribute this to directly. If you're a large enough city, you get, or county, you get it directly. In our case, we just get it from the state. So the estimated amount, and the key there is estimated because we're not sure exactly what this is going to look like just yet, is $394,217.61. That we'll get it in two parts. As of right now, what we're hearing is the first part would show up next week sometime, May 10th. And then the second half in the 2022 around the same time. So these funds have to be expended before the end of the 2024, or we have to send the money back to the Treasury. So as with any kind of federal funding, it is restricted. They've done their best to try to make this more flexible, but I don't know that you can ever really make it totally flexible. So we've done. I attached some presentation materials from the League of Kansas Municipalities and National League of Cities. So there's four things this money can be spent on: to respond to COVID-19 and its negative impacts, including assistance to households, small businesses, nonprofits, or aid to industries such as travel, tourism, and hospitality. That's a great big category there that I'm not 100% sure I understand all of what goes into that. And then we could provide premium pay for essential workers responding to the pandemic. You can go up to $13 of premium pay per hour if you wanted to. I would not recommend using this money for premium pay. I don't know that makes a lot of sense for us. You can use it for revenue replacement as a result of things that have happened, money that you failed to collect as part of the pandemic response. So we don't really have a lot of things where we've lost money. In fact, we did pretty well during the pandemic, just from sales tax collections and property tax collections. We really didn't see a ton of loss. The only place where we could potentially say that would be the swimming pool, where we would have had revenue coming in, but we also didn't open the swimming pool. So I don't know that makes a ton of sense either. But where I think we should really think most about making this is to make necessary investments in water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. This project that Alan was just talking about would be a candidate for that. So, getting this money coming in now would actually would pay for our portion of this project as it sits right now. The key thing with all this is that we need additional guidance from the U.S. Treasury. They wrote this law pretty quickly. They got it passed pretty quickly. The money's coming pretty quickly. I am not comfortable spending one penny of it until I know exactly from the Treasury what needs to happen with it. Just from my experience with federal money, if you don't do it correctly, it's almost not worth having. And so what I'm suggesting and what we're planning on doing is setting up a separate fund in order to just capture this money and then wait until we get some pretty good clarification from the Treasury as to what it is. But as of right now, I would say, just from what I know, looking at it is to that number 4, making investments in water, sewer, broadband, we don't need to necessarily worry about. But wanted to have that conversation and let you know, because the estimates are out there. Anybody can go and look up what other communities are going to receive, what counties are going to receive. It's a huge influx of money. We don't usually land into this much money. So, we want to make sure everybody knows that we're trying to be transparent with it. We're trying to use it in the best way possible. The greatest good for the greatest number is usually kind of how I think about this. I would, shy away from using it on anything that would be considered a recurring expense or an ongoing management expense. I think the best use is probably for capital things. So wanted to have that information and again, put that out there for you and just let you know that it's coming. We're going to have it. It's going to show up on our balance sheet. You're going to say, well, what the heck is this? It's part of that Recovery Act funds. And one of the other things as part of the rescue plan is there are lots of other pots of money out there for different things too. So there's some money for housing stuff. There's money for a lot of money's going to KDHE to do some things too. So we need to be kind of smart in how we use this as well, because there are other pots of money out there that we could potentially find to help with other different things. So I just want to put that out there. Answer any questions. If you have any about it right now, I'm waiting for guidance though. So just wanted to put it out there so that we can at least begin that conversation.
Any questions for Matt on that? Okay. So we didn't have any
Thank you.
action.
Thank you.
Didn't have any action, so we.
There's no action on it at this point. I'm telling you, we're gonna stick it in a fund and wait.
Mhm.
So,
Sounds good.
but well, we can have some more conversation about what that needs to look like in the future
I
meeting.
think we can find projects.
Yeah, I don't think we'll have any problem finding anything, but I also don't want people to necessarily think that this can be used on anything, and
Right,
so.
exactly.
Okay, next item is the Evergy Circuit proposal.
So Evergy's replacing their substation that feeds Hillsboro, and that construction is actually beginning now. I had anticipated it would be next year, but I think they're going to be going here in the next few months. As part of that, they're doing some, Evergy's been doing some transformer maintenance, and they shut us, or they jumped us over to another circuit a couple of weeks ago. Nobody lost power, but they realized that in letting us do that, there's a way that we can do it without getting metered. And once they figure out that you can get power without getting metered, they figure out that you need a meter, which is pretty standard. I get it. And so they're gonna be putting a meter on this for us, and then we know that that's happening. And so they're talking about a $20,000 fee to meter that, which is okay. We knew it existed, and it was something that we probably ought to be thinking about anyway. But so we're doing that. But as part of the substation project, they're also proposing to build some existing distribution circuits up on Industrial and then over on Highway 56. So they're going to be replacing some of that line, and that upgrade, if we were allowed to do it, they're going to be able to do that anyway. It serves a lot of purposes for them, but it also sets up a situation for us that if we were to pick up at the new meter that they're going to install and connect down to the substation terminal that we have now currently, we would basically have a redundant ability to feed this community while the system is out. So right now, if they have to do any kind of maintenance, they got to take us down. With this, we were able to do this project. We would be able to have that maintenance and still be able to keep everything up, and they can do it whenever they needed to.
Is this kind of making us into a loop like
Yeah.
we do with the water system, where we can cut off the line anywhere and not lose water
Right.
because we
That's a good way to think
have a
of it.
loop?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they can feed us from different direction at that point.
Uh-huh.
So if they have to do any work on their other transformers,
Mhm.
we'll be able to keep the power on and maintain that work. That's a good way to think about it.
Yeah.
It creates a new circuit for us. So what they're proposing to do is to build that line as part of the substation projects, which would cost us nothing, with the big caveat that if we were to take an outage during one of the peak months, then it triggers a different billing mechanism, and they could try to recover that cost on us. So we do have some control on that. We can say we don't want an outage during June, July, peak months, August. And so we have a little bit of control over that, unless it's something that's catastrophic. So that part would be free with the big asterisk. But we would also have to go in and run some new line over from where that meter comes into the current.
To our
feeder.
substation
Yeah.
there on Adams.
Yep, on Adams. So we talked to KPP. They gave us a lot of help with kind of just figuring parts of this out, and they recommend this too. It's a fairly inexpensive way to be redundant, to get some redundancy in the system. So it would be roughly, if we installed the new line, we think top end's probably about 20,000. We're going to get charged for that meter anyway. That's another 20,000. So we're thinking about 40 total, and 40,000 for redundancy in your system is a pretty good deal, in my opinion.
So does that meter, it need to happen even if we didn't do this?
Even if we didn't do it, we're still on the
It
hook for the
would
meter.
not be temporary either.
No,
It
this
would
would
have
be a
to stay.
permanent. Yeah, this would be a permanent meter.
I don't
So
think we have any choice with the meter, do we?
Yeah.
no, we're stuck with that. They
Yeah.
figured out that they can feed us without metering us, so that's gonna happen, whether we want it to or not.
Yeah.
So what they're needing to do right now is just to get us in a position to see if we're willing to do this. And my recommendation would be, yeah, we should probably look at doing this, and let them move forward with their part of it, and then we'll get to tackling the extension of the line. And once that meter gets set, we'll be able to kind of move forward with it. But wanted to get your input on what we should do. Obviously, this is a pretty significant expenditure. It's a little bit outside of what we had planned in the budget. We may have to do some amending. We have the cash on hand, but we didn't necessarily have this on the radar. So, I think it's a good investment, and I would recommend taking a look at it and at least giving, if we're willing to do it, to give Evergy the thumbs up to continue moving forward.
So the new substation that they're doing is off industrial, correct?
Yeah,
What they're
it's
doing.
further south. Yeah.
But they'll still use the Adams?
Yeah,
It's not going away.
That doesn't go away.
Okay.
It stays in place, and that's how they're going to feed to that. That's how they do it now.
Mhm.
This actually, their whole project is great for us. I mean, it really gives us a lot more options as far as how we get fed and the overall system.
Mhm.
So it's a positive project for us, and this adds just another layer of positive kind of project to it. So, yeah.
So we have a recommendation. So we need to take a vote then on allowing them to move forward with the
Right.
proposed.
Yeah, that would be the action that needs to happen if you're wanting to do it.
Okay. Would entertain a motion to move forward with Evergy allowing the proposed improved city line.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next order of business is Countryside feed request.
So Countryside approached me about improving some of the drainage on industrial side. So they're rerouting all their traffic from industrial, coming in on industrial and going through their plant to exit onto Santa Fe. One of the things that they're asking for is maybe some help with providing the concrete apron and some of the drainage there. It was kind of an add-on to their project, but they feel like it's probably the best decision as far as what they should do for maintaining their truck traffic and flow there. So they're requesting that we pay half of it, $8,785. I've got the drawing. It actually did come in. Let me see if I can pull that up for you. And I'll do a screen share on that, if it'll let me. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so I'm gonna do screen share real quick. Can kind of see this. This is what they are proposing to do. So they're coming in here, and this is the city right of way here. This right of way line. They're going to come back and cut basically a new driveway here, and they're also going to be putting in several pipes. Can't really see it from there, but
Is that where it was more on industrial?
yeah, this is all going to be on industrial is what they're talking about doing. So they're coming back in and paving all this. Originally, they had talked about doing just gravel and coming in. There's currently one tube. I think it's a 12-inch tube, 14-inch tube runs through here. They're talking about going back in with three tubes going through here, and then repouring the concrete approach. So the advantage for us is it does improve the drainage that runs through there. I think it'll actually be a safety improvement as well. And it'll actually make industrial last a little bit longer as it is right now. If they were to come off there with a gravel approach, not sure how long that curbing would last right there. So I think it's actually a pretty reasonable request. We really haven't, we've done a tax abatement for them. We had the special meeting to do that. So they have received partial tax abatement, 97% for 10 years. So it's not like they're not receiving something from us, but this one's a little bit easier for me to swallow as far as what it is, because it does improve our system and our approaches. So
What are we seeing here? I'm trying to.
so this is Industrial Road. here's where they're gonna be coming in off of.
Okay, okay.
And their building would be over here onto to the east a little bit further. So right now they're planning on doing this as gravel, limestone or crushed rock compacted. But now they're talking about going back through and doing pavement, and then improving this section. This is really what they're talking about, asking us to help with, is this apron piece here and the drainage that runs through there. So
Which way does that flow, Matt?
it should flow north to south right there.
I mean, but is it going to the north? Will the water flow to the north or to
No,
the
I
south?
think it should flow south.
Okay.
It should be coming off of.
I'm just trying to figure out where it's going eventually, if it's flowing south.
Yeah, it should head south and head through, a meter
Industrial,
out, down industrial, and
Mhm.
Down to where the old railroad tracks were,
Right.
somewhere in there, and then it flows out.
then it'll head east.
Yeah, it goes east.
So it's, there's some benefit for us in this one. It's just a matter of, is it worth making that investment too? Do you have any questions about the project itself? Don't exactly have all the bits and pieces, but this is a pretty good drawing of
So the
what's going
splits for the apron and the 3 tubes that
And
are
the
going
tubes,
underneath the
yeah.
apron.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't really see the details necessarily here, but
The apron's on the city right away, is that why they're
Yeah.
wanting to have us share that cost?
we get a chunk of it.
Okay.
Yeah, normally they would be 100% on the hook to do that, but in this case, they're asking for some assistance. And I think it will improve the traffic flow pretty significantly, because I know that's an issue right now on
Let
Santa
them swing
Fe.
in there a lot wider.
Yeah.
That's pretty big for trucks.
And they're talking about a pretty significant number of trucks and increasing the volume of trucks.
Yeah.
So,
And they only want how much?
8,785.
It's not as much as. Yeah. We spend a lot on other things.
But yeah, it's a pretty modest ask, really, in the grand scheme of it, and especially in the overall cost of the project. It's in the millions, so it's a pretty small amount. But I told Brandon Acton that I'd bring it forward to you guys. Didn't want to make that investment without consulting with the council on that. So funds for this would come from the CIP, so it would come out of our capital improvement funds. I don't have an updated budget figure at this minute because we were just doing bank reconciliation today. So, but there is sufficient funds in there to do this.
Okay, do we have a motion to share in the cost of the drainage and apron for 8785 with Countryside Feed?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those say aye.
All right.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next order of business is talking about moving meeting in July.
Yeah, so we have a regular scheduled meeting in July set for Tuesday, July 6th, which is the day after the Independence holiday. I've actually got a family commitment. My sister-in-law is getting married in Florida, and so I've been told I'm going to be there. And July 6th is when we're supposed to leave. So, rather than having our normal meeting, it wouldn't be a big deal for me to miss the meeting, but it's also right in the middle of budget season, and so would like to be able to make a budget presentation there. We do have 3 weeks between meetings in June, so we have a June 15th meeting, and then we would have 3 weeks before the next meeting. So this would move that meeting up from the 6th to the 1st, which is a Thursday. I don't know. I know Barney usually pretty committed on Tuesdays. I know you have Tuesdays off, but
Yeah, I go out of town on Tuesdays. That's the only, I got Tuesdays off. On Thursdays, I have to go out of town.
Okay. Well, yeah. So
And I don't know if I'll be back by 4 because I have to go clear to Hutchinson and all over the place.
okay. Well, yeah, I thought I'd bring that up and see if that was an option. If not, I will probably be gone for that meeting on the 6th, but, so I just wanted to throw that out as an option.
I could see about getting off if, I mean, I'd have you there so I could see about getting off, so that wouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
Is this something that needs action or is it just
Yeah,
discussion? And
since you're formally moving the meeting, yeah, you have to
Okay.
make a formal action to do that if you chose to do it.
so Barney, you'd look to get off on Thursday if we moved it?
I think I could work something out. At 4 o'clock, right? I might be back
Yeah.
by then. I don't think so.
Okay. So entertain a motion to move the normally scheduled July 6th meeting to July 1st.
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
I'll second it.
a motion and second for the discussion.
I
Hearing
really
none.
think you should get your, whatever to reschedule or whatever.
Reschedule the wedding. Yeah, I tried to tell them that. Is that what we're gonna do?
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, next up, we'll skip board appointments as Lou's not here. City administrators report.
Okay, got a few things. First, I want to introduce Danielle Bartle. She's working with Jan, and then we'll be taking over for Jan once Jan retires on June the 11th. So she's sitting in. Is this your first council meeting?
It is my first council meeting,
First council
third day. in the
Third day.
office.
So welcome to Danielle. She's doing a great job, and look forward to working with you in the future. And I'm sure these guys will put you through your paces.
Happy to have you.
Website launch, we're set to get that launched up on the 3rd week of May. It's been a little bit longer in getting up than we'd originally anticipated. We're also launching our front desk platform at the same time. So we're transitioning away from the ACH customers over to the front desk system. It actually will improve the ability for people to pay and kind of see their bills and interact online, and they can set up their own recurring payments and things like that in the future. So I think it'll be a really nice improvement. They'll be able to see all their city bills kind of put in one and can pay at once. We just uploaded all that information this morning, and we're tinkering with front desk. And so we'll have that available to launch, and then launch with a new website, kind of a fresh start. It's going to be good. I think it'll be a nice improvement, and hopefully we can make it easier on people to pay and find information and try to make a quality product for everybody that's transparent and hopefully user-friendly. Along with that, we're making a change to the credit card payments. We've had some not issues, but some concerns about safety for customers accepting credit cards. So what we're doing right now is we're removing the option for people to write their credit card information on the bill. Sometimes we have, especially around due date, we have people stuff their bills into the Dropbox. And if more people stuff in there, then we can get it to dump overnight. Sometimes those things are just kind of hanging out there, and I don't want people's credit card information necessarily hanging out there. So we're removing that. We're gonna have some more options for them and some different language on the bills so that they know how to get out to front desk and use that. Or we're also trying to phase out taking credit cards over the phone. There's still some people that like to do that. They call us up and they want to do that. We have to physically write down all that information. It creates a record for us, but I get a little bit antsy about having that just floating around too. So we do a good job with data safety. I just don't want there to ever be an issue with something happening. So we're starting to make those changes. And again, with front desk, we'll be having a lot more access for people to pay themselves online. They can do cash, credit, checks or credit cards online. We'll always take cash, checks, credit cards if they come to the window. We're just kind of trying to get away from the writing credit card information on the bill and leaving it somewhere. So that's the change we're making there. Sales tax receipts. I got the receipts attached for this month. Receipts currently are almost 35,000 over last year, which is a high year. 16% up. And so things are looking pretty good with that. We will in a couple months, we'll see the effects of Dollar General being closed for a few weeks. So we'll see how that impacts us. But then also we've got Baumgart's coming in here in the next, I believe they're opening at the end of May or the first part of June. So, we'll start to see kind of how that impacts it too. As we look at budget season, we'll kind of take those into account and see kind of where we're at. Retirement party, Jan's retirement party, set for June 11th from 4 to 6 here at City Hall. I think your dad's making ice cream for us, so very excited about that. Pretty cool. Jan's been with us 42 years, and she is the brains of the operation. Without Jan, we'd be stuck, I think. So we're gonna miss her when she's gone, and just like Mona retired last week, and so we got her on speed dial. She knows everybody in the community, and so as we transition, it's always a little bit bittersweet, and I wish everybody who's retired all the best. We'll figure out how to move forward and move on and try to make things as best as possible. So the performance evaluation for me, I sent a link out to everybody today. And so I'm trying to do that one digitally and kind of see how that goes. If you see something on there you don't think makes any sense, or if we need to change some of the metrics, totally fine. I copied it. I borrowed some of the information from a couple of other evaluations, 360 evaluations. So it's not all necessarily of my own creation. So if you think there's something in there that needs to be added, by all means, let's talk about it. So yeah, we'll try to get that updated and send that. I sent that out to you. So we'll want to start filling those out and get them back in. June 15th would be my 1 year anniversary. So
Already?
yeah, I know, right? It's crazy. June 15th. It's flown by. It's been kind of crazy, but we're keeping up. So and I'd answer any questions if you had anything. Okay.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, council comments. Any council members have any comments? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move forward.
I just had a question.
Okay.
What's the schedule for the fiber optics now? Where they're hoping to be wrapped up?
They are hoping to be wrapped up sometime in late June, I think.
Okay.
I'm not sure if they're going to quite get there. Weather's a big piece of that.
So they're about done nicking our water lines, aren't they?
Hope so. Some days are better than others, and some crews, they have a lot of crews running, and some of them have been more diligent than others. We'll say that, but by and large, I think they have gotten better about that, and they're getting into areas where I think we have better mapping too, and that helps a lot.
Okay.
On the outskirts of town.
Have we learned some things about our mapping?
Yes, we have. Tracer wire is really important, and a lot of the older stuff doesn't have it. So it's, and then, if we can get it, that'd be great. But also depths are something interesting. And usually we're within a couple feet, but that couple feet can make a big difference. So
Okay.
yes, we've learned a lot of patience too. I will say that.
Okay, that was my comment.
Any other council comments? Do we have any further business to bring before the council? Okay, meeting adjourned.